welcome to Hope Matters. I'm Pastor Eric Shafer, the senior pastor here at Mount Olive Lutheran Church in Santa Monica, California, and this is Hope Matters. Each week we talk to an interesting person from around the country, around the community, even around the world about the theme of hope, because we believe that hope matters. Today our guest is Cheryl, are you our second time guest? I think you might be.
I'm honored.
Our first guest that we're having a second time on Hope Matters. Cheryl Anderson is a member of Mount Olive. She's on our congregation council, very active in the congregation, active in our recorded worship services, and a number of other things. And for her day job, she is the executive producer, the showrunner, and the head writer for the hit series on Netflix, Sweet Magnolias. And she's just finished filming the second season. So we want to try to get her to tell us second season secrets. But first, Cheryl, welcome back to Hope Matters.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. It's nice to be back, and it's nice to be back in LA.
That's right. You just got back yesterday.
Just got back yesterday. We'd been in Atlanta for 6 months.
Wow. So tell us about the success of the first year. The program debuted about a year ago, right?
Right. We premiered in May 2020, and I was hoping that we would be successful, word of mouth. People would, suggest to their friends, and we'd slowly build an audience. And we were, in fact, number in the top 10 when we debuted, and number 1 by that first weekend.
Yeah.
So it was a delightful surprise, a huge blessing, and great fun to see people embrace the show as wholeheartedly as they did.
It was, yeah, and you and I were amused at some of the. We got this new audience of women pastors too. So this is kind of cool, And for the benefit of any of our viewers who haven't seen the program, among other things, Cheryl wrote in a Lutheran pastor who happens to be a Black woman into the show, and and she and I even heard from people about telling us about how we got the clerical shirt wrong. But anyway.
And I want you to let your friends know we corrected that in season 2.
Wonderful. I'm glad. So I know you can't reveal details, but tell us a little bit about are there new people in the cast for the second season? And can you tell us anything about the general plot? Okay, I know you can't tell me who's in the car. Okay. Okay, for the benefit of our viewers who haven't seen the show, the first 10 episodes ended with a car crash, a cliffhanger, and Cheryl, of course, is sworn to secrecy, although she does know who was in the car. But barring that, are there some new characters that you've introduced for the second season?
There are new characters, but primarily season 2 focuses on deepening relationships among the people that you met in season 1, and getting more involved in the conflicts, the romances, the new friendships among the people that the audience fell in love with in season 1. There are a couple of surprise characters in season 2, but.
And did I see on Facebook that you brought back Jamie Spears?
Yes, and Brandon Quinn, who is only in the final episode. He's back as a regular as well. And Dion Johnstone, who is Chef Eric. The 3 of them became series regulars in season 2.
Wonderful, because it wasn't clear from last year that Jamie's character was coming back, so that's cool.
Well, and we were going to play that as a surprise, but then the announcement was made of everybody who was going to be a series regular. So I won't say when she comes back and what happens when she comes back, but yes, she's back.
You can I can make a few educated guesses based on the first season. So tell us how it goes from here. You now have a ton of videotape to go through, and you have a script, and you've got to almost single-handedly pull this thing together, right?
Oh, no, not single-handedly. I have a fantastic group, a fantastic team every step of the way. Dan Paulson, the other executive producer, and Norman Buckley and Matt Drake, the two co-EPs. We've all been working on the editing throughout the filming. And we're now, as I mentioned to you, I've come home to a lot of post-production, but that's more music and mixing and color. And I mean, we have a couple of episodes left to still finish the editing on.
But you're mostly, but the basic editing is mostly done then. Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
That's great. Well, I should know that, having traveled with my friend Tim Frakes, who every night was doing the editing on the taping we had done that day. That's the way it is in your business, I know. That's great. So those who are viewing this, who are fans, we have no idea when Netflix will show this, right? At this point,
We don't know, and that's a decision that Netflix makes. I mean, we can say please, 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 and pray that it's soon, but Netflix has to look at all their offerings and decide, what are good companion pieces and how to spread things out. And because of the pandemic, there were a lot of us going to camera at the same time.
right?
So they have an embarrassment of riches now to decide, well, this goes in this quarter, this goes in the next quarter, that kind of thing.
So what's your drop dead date to hand over 10 episodes to Netflix? Do you have one?
Well, we're in the final stages of post-production through pretty deeply into fourth quarter. So Netflix is fabulous to work with, and we have picture lock on a stunningly high percentage of our episodes already. But as I said, there's still sound and music and mix and everything else. So it's not. We would love to say, hey, we're done and it's going to be coming to you very, very soon. But there's also the period where they have to translate and dub everything for everywhere else in the world.
Yeah. And open caption and closed caption it too, right? All that stuff.
Right.
So probably the earliest a viewer might see this on Netflix would be Christmas time, right? As a guess. Yeah. Who knows?
It's hard to say.
I wouldn't be surprised. No, the little I know at Netflix that they'll keep it for next spring, but who knows?
That's an excellent guess too. But I don't mean for anybody to read between the lines because I genuinely don't know.
Yeah. It's the kind of show though they might hold to start on Easter or Mother's Day, I mean, but who knows?
I would love for them to do it the moment they're ready, but they'll decide.
So would your viewers, as you know. They're very anxious to know who's in the car.
And it's so funny as I meet people and find out that they're fans of the show, who's in the car is usually one of the first questions, if not the first question. But now, having filmed all of season 2, I have to stop and think, wait, you still don't know who's in the, oh, right, you don't know who's in the car.
That's right. And
just wait until you find out everything else we do to you in season 2.
And if you've given us another cliffhanger, you have to be careful not to give that away because that's in your head.
That's right.
So help our viewers understand this process. So it comes on sometime late this year or next year. When will you know if there's a third season?
Again, that's up to Netflix. Netflix has to examine the data and look at the viewership, not just in the United States, but everywhere. And they have a very intricate, as best I can tell, analytical system that they go through, and then they'll let us know, and we'll jump back in the next day.
Now, last time they had you write the scripts before they committed to the show. Do I
Right.
remember that correctly? Have
Yes.
they, when will you get that okay if all things go hopefully well? We don't know. Okay.
We don't know. We
But
don't
that
know.
could come that could come this fall, possibly.
Theoretically,
Okay. Yeah.
again, those are all Netflix processes, and all I can do is assure them that we've got plenty of stories ready to go. And
Of course you do.
all they have to do is say, "Let's start," and we'll be, "Yes, thank you."
And you, of course, can't guarantee the casting coming back, but you've told me in the past that this cast likes doing this show.
We have a beautiful, we call them the Sweet Magnolias family. We have a beautiful community of actors and crew. And yes, people enjoy being together. They enjoy the show. And I consider it one of, if not my chief responsibility, to make sure that everybody's enjoying themselves. I told everybody the first day, I want you to feel safe, heard, and respected. And if you're ever not, you need to come find me. I don't care what your job is. I don't care what part you play. Come see me, talk to me. Let's find out how we can make this a better experience for you. Um, but we're very blessed. We have incredibly talented people who are also incredibly funny and fun to hang out with and enjoy each other. A lot of our cast have been on other shows together, um, or have lots of friends in common. So it's a real neighborhood feel.
That's neat. Safe, heard, and respected. That's a pretty good motto for any production, any congregation, anything, right? That's pretty good.
Well, I think that unfortunately there are a lot of places in Hollywood where that's not the motto. And I've worked in some of those places, and so it was very important to me
I
that
believe
that be our standard going forward.
I wouldn't expect any less of you, my friend. So,
Thank you.
no, I mean, that's true. And sadly, that's also true in many churches, unfortunately, that they're not places of safety for certain people, as we know. And
Well, and
here's
that's
not.
one of the reasons that I love you in Mount Olive so much, because I know you oversee our church in that same spirit.
That is the spirit we should be in, no question.
Amen. I also
So,
feel like if I'm going to run a show that's about a welcoming community, then the process of creating that show needs to come from a welcoming community.
well, that besides being the faithful and moral thing to do, that's also makes economic sense, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I truly believe that people who are having a good time do better work.
Yeah.
And I told everybody at the end of the season that I was impressed daily by their willingness to dig deeply and, you know, put their hearts and souls on the table. And I think that's one of the things that people respond to in watching the show is you really do get a sense that people are having a great time. And it's also, it encourages in the creative process, it encourages people to reach a little further and try something different, or like I said, dig a little deeper. um, and I so loved watching our directors and our cast as well as our crew create moments that genuinely had not occurred to me. in the writing.
Oh,
Uh,
that's really neat.
you know, a mood change, or sometimes it's just a tilt of the head, or and we had this incredible props crew that put so much thought into every detail and asked me fabulous questions. Our entire art department, our costume department, everybody was so attentive to every detail of these characters' lives, and it just it was a source of great joy for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And your daughter and son are in business with you, or were with you on for this shoot.
Yes.
Sarah's involved in writing, and Sean is doing some acting, right?
Yes, Sean is part of the kitchen crew at Sullivan's, and Sarah was our script coordinator and my assistant. So she was wearing two hats at the same time and wearing them marvelously. Our producing director would often go to her to ask her story questions,
Wonderful,
and because she could come up with it faster than I could.
wonderful.
So it was delightful to be working with both of them. And it was also just, as a mom during the pandemic, really nice to have them with
I
me
was going
in
to say,
Atlanta
yep,
rather
yep.
than worrying about how they were doing here.
Well, and pandemic or not, there aren't too many moms that get to work with their kids, that like their kids like them. You know what I mean? And you were
Yeah.
24/7 with the three of you. I mean, that could be bad, but it wasn't.
Well, that's another great blessing.
It's another great blessing. You know how I know you know how blessed you are in your life.
I do, and I'm grateful every day.
Well, we could talk about Sweet Magnolias for a long time, but we've learned that people don't watch these programs too long. So, but let's talk a little bit about hope. You've spoken with me about that. So here we're coming to what hopefully is the end of this long pandemic, although now it looks like the light at the end of the tunnel is a little further away. But so where are you finding hope these days, Cheryl?
I am finding hope in the creativity that people found um, while we were inside, as a friend of mine refers to it. The way that people reinvested themselves in relationships, in pursuits, how um, how people. Suzanne Langer, who was a philosopher in the mid-century, mid 20th century, um, said that comedy is brainy opportunism in the face of an essentially dreadful universe.
Hmm,
And I thought a lot about that during the pandemic. Not to deny how horrible it's been, but I have found great hope in people's resilience and in their brainy opportunism to make headway against what could be a situation where you just throw up your hands and say, how can we do anything? But I look at how you pivoted us brilliantly onto online worship, that Zoom groups sprung up for all kinds of support systems. We all learned how to work on Zoom, um, for the most part. But I just take so much hope in people refusing to be broken and beaten.
that's great. That's great. And we're, for the benefit of our viewers, we're recording this during the Olympics, and we certainly have a lot of examples going on right now in the Olympics. So there we
I
have
tell
it.
you, I think Simone Biles is a hero beyond measure,
Yeah,
in so many ways, and I really hope that people embrace her as a leader, not just in her sport, in her art, because it seems beyond sport to me, but but as a leader in how we should live. And I think, again, that's where I have found the most hope during these times, in the people who inspire me, in the art that inspires me. I had a long conversation one night with Heather Headley, who plays Helen on Sweet Magnolias. And we were talking about what a blessing it was, that a God-given gift, that our show premiered when it did, when people needed to be reminded of community and hope and friendship, and being good to your neighbor. And she referred to the show as a balm for this particular Gilead.
Hmm.
And I've thought about that often in the time since, and all the ways that we can be balm for each other.
Right.
And I find hope in that also, in recognizing that Zooming with somebody a little bit more often, calling instead of texting, the simple things that we can do even when we get to go back outside.
Yeah. Oh, again, we're going on longer, but who cares? I think my best friend is Mike Cooper White, who's also been interviewed on this show, and he and his 3 adult kids and their whole families meet every Sunday night by Zoom. They never did that, and they're going to keep doing it. So there it is. I mean, a lot of good has come out of a very hard time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if, again, the hope I take in the fact that so many of us were able to find diamonds among the ashes.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And may we not lose sight of that. May we hang
not
on
lose sight of it.
to what's important, when the sun shines again.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. Well, thank you, Cheryl. Thanks for being with us again on Hope Matters. This has been Hope Matters, a production of Mount Olive Lutheran Church here in Santa Monica, California. I'm Pastor Eric Shafer, the host of Hope Matters. Our guest this week has been Cheryl Anderson, member of Mount Olive, leader of Mount Olive, and also the head writer, showrunner, and executive producer of Sweet Magnolias, coming to Netflix sometime in the next year for season 2. And with our hopes that season 3 will not be far behind. So thank you for being with us today, Cheryl.
Thank you, Pastor Eric. A marvelous fun as always.
Thank you. This has been Hope Matters. We believe that hope matters. We believe in a God of hope. Join us again next week. Thank you.